Hey, welcome back to the channel, and in today's episode we are going to be talking about the brand new Triumph Speed 400 and the brand new Triumph Speed 400X. Now, Triumph New Zealand recently reached out to me after seeing some of my videos on YouTube, and they wanted to know if I was keen to fly up to Auckland for the launch of the Speed 400, the Scrambler 400X and the brand new Daytona 660. And naturally I jumped at the opportunity to go up and test these bikes, and this video is going to be all about that, so hope you enjoy it. Now, in a world where the cost of living is ever increasing, riders are really struggling to buy those super high-end bikes and to keep up with all the insurance payments and to buy all the accessories that go along with the bikes. And a huge market has started to appear in the mid-range motorcycle sort of genre at the moment. And not just in the 650cc market, but now this burgeoning 400cc. You're seeing the Himalayan 450 that's just been released by Royal Enfield. You've got the Husqvarna 401, you've got the Duke 390, and you've got the brand new CF Moto Ibex 450. And Triumph have listened to their customers and understood the demographic, and they've delivered an absolutely incredible bike for the cost of money. Now, both the bikes are younger siblings in the wider Triumph Modern Classic range. The Speed 400 is the younger sibling of the Speed 900 and the Speed 1200. And the Scrambler 400X is the younger sibling of the Scrambler 900 and the Scrambler 1200X and the Scrambler 1200XE. Now let's dive into the specs and features of both bikes, starting off with the Triumph Speed 400. Now, the Speed 400 features a liquid-cooled 400cc single-cylinder engine producing 40 brake horsepower. It creates 37.5 Nm of torque at 6,500 RPM. It has a 6-speed gearbox and a fuel tank capacity of 13 litres. It has a seat height of 790mm, which is very similar to the T100, the T120 and the Royal Enfield Interceptor. It has a 17-inch wheel on the rear and the front, and it weighs just 170 kg, so this is super accessible for beginner riders and shorter riders that might struggle with a higher balance weight of a bike. Now, the Scrambler 400X features the exact same liquid-cooled 400cc single-cylinder engine producing 40 brake horsepower, 37.5 Nm of torque at 6,500 RPM. It has the same 6-speed gearbox and the same fuel tank capacity at 13 litres. The seat height on the Scrambler 400X, and this is a big difference, is 835mm. So this might put off a few shorter riders, but for someone like me at 6'2", I found it incredibly comfortable. We'll get back to that in the pros. It has a 17-inch rear wheel and a 19-inch front wheel, and it has a wet weight of 179 kg, so it's almost 10 kg heavier than the Speed 400. Now, both bikes have a service interval of 16,000 kilometers or 10,000 miles every 12 months. Now, that's brilliant for people that want to commute daily with the bikes, which I think is almost what they've been designed for. It means you won't have to be getting it serviced all the time. Now, let's talk about who these bikes are aimed at. The first rider that comes to mind is the everyday commuter. Obviously, it's a very cost-effective bike, and I reckon you could probably fill that tank up and it'll keep going for ages. The second would be experienced riders that want a second bike, so they may have a big BMW 1200 GS in the garage and they just want to get something that'll be cheap and effective to get to work and back. The third will be downsizers, so people that want to just get rid of their bike and get something a lot more affordable and have some spare change to go on holiday or get some better gear. And lastly, I've been trying to avoid the B word, but yes, this bike is definitely aimed at beginners. If this bike was around when I first started riding, I 100% would have got it. I actually started out in a Suzuki TU250X, and I quickly moved up to Royal Enfield Meteor 350 and then the 650 range. But if these Triumph 400s had been out at the same time, I 100% would have jumped on one of the 400Xs, I think. Now, I know that these bikes have been selling by the bucket loads. I've been to a few dealerships around New Zealand, and every time you go in, it's really hard to get your hands on one of these bikes with the sold stickers on nearly all of them. Now, as I mentioned at the start of the video, there's an ever-growing 400cc range of bikes that's out there at the moment, and there's a lot of competition for the Speed 400, and let's just dive into a few of them. Now the main competition for the Speed 400 would be the Duke 390, which is produced by Bajaj over in India, as well as the Husqvarna 401 Svartpillen, which is also produced at Bajaj in India. I think the Royal Enfield Hunter 350 is nipping at the heels of the Speed 400 too, even though it produces nearly 20 horsepower less. It's a similar price range and similar design aesthetic. And lastly, the BMW 310R, which is also produced over in India and a similar price range to this bike. Now the main competitors for the Scrambler 400X would most likely be the Honda CL500, which is a newly released Scrambler that's doing really well in the market. I think the Harley-Davidson X500 would be something to watch out for as well. I've seen so many videos out there of people comparing the Scrambler 400X to the new Royal Enfield Himalayan 450, and these are totally different bikes. The Himalayan 450 is an adventure bike that's designed to go off-road for long distance with a lot of touring capabilities as well. I think that bike is better compared to something like the CF Moto 450 Ibex or even the Honda CRF 300 Rally. Some of the other competition for these bikes would likely be in the second-hand market as well, so something like a second-hand Interceptor or Continental GT. Now when it comes to discussing the riding experience of both these bikes, it comes down to three words: fun, fun, and fun. I came into this riding launch day thinking with my tall height that the bike I was going to prefer would be the Scrambler 400X. But after riding both the bikes numerous times, I think my favorite bike out of the two would be the Speed 400. Now the Speed 400 really surprised me. It was such a fun bike to ride. It was incredibly flickable. You could throw it around corners. It really stuck to the road, and I could keep up with the lead rider like way easier on the Speed 400 than I could on the Scrambler 400X. I found just that lighter weight to be so much fun to ride with, and yeah, it really makes me want to try out the Speed 1200, because if that's how much fun you can have on the Speed 400, I can imagine the Speed 1200 would be mind-blowing. Both the bikes feature super light torque assist clutch, which is great for getting through traffic and if you have to constantly be changing gears on your commute. I found the Scrambler 400X to have more than enough horsepower for just doing everyday riding up to sort of 100 k's an hour. There was little to no vibration, even due to the single cylinder engine. And the seat was incredibly comfortable, probably one of the most comfiest seats I've ever sat on a motorbike. The suspension was great across a lot of the vibey roads as well here in the north of Auckland. But yeah, if you're looking for a bike that's super easy to ride, really light, you can flick around corners, got just enough power for doing everything you need, the Speed 400 is a cracking little bike. Now let's do a deep dive into the positives of both these bikes. Now let's talk about the negatives I encountered with both these bikes. Alright, so in conclusion, I really think Triumph have absolutely nailed it with these two bikes. It's one hell of a value for money. These bikes are incredible fit and finish. And if they'd been around when I was a learner rider, I would certainly have considered buying them. Compared to my Suzuki TU250X, I think I would have probably definitely chosen one of these bikes. Like I said throughout the video, one word comes to mind, and that is just fun, fun, fun. These are super light and flickable bikes. It's actually quite refreshing coming from a T100 to one of these 400cc's, having that 20 kgs probably plus difference. And I think they have more than enough power to do short trips, maybe 2-3 hour trips here and there, as well as a bit of light off-road for the Scrambler 400X. So if I had to choose between both the bikes, I mean, that's a really tough one. I came into the day thinking that the Scrambler 400X was 100% going to be the bike I would have walked out, the door with. And just with the taller seat height, me being a tall rider, and the sort of bigger presence and stature of the bike. But I think at the end of the day, I almost walked away wanting to own a Speed 400. It's such a light, flickable bike, so much fun to ride. It just looks incredible with the gold and sort of anodized forks. Yeah, I mean, it's such good value for money. If both of these bikes had been around when I was a learner rider, I think I would have definitely considered getting them. Why don't you go out there, grab one of these bikes and take it for a test ride, and let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Please give it a like and subscribe, and hopefully see you in the next one. Cheers.